Good morning, good afternoon, good evening students. Today, as we know that we are facing the problem of COVID-19, that is why we are not able to conduct physical classes in the school. So we decided to take some video classes. So that is why I am here today. Today I am covering a lesson from class 10 NCERT English, first flight book. The chapter name is A Letter to God. This is first chapter of your syllabus. It is written by G.L. Fuentes. Basically, he is a Spanish writer. He used to write down the stories which has wit. Means that he used to write down a kind of story which has wit. So, we are going to start this lesson now. At first, I want to show you the pictures. There are two pictures, as you can see, first one and second one. There are some questions. First one, what do you see in the picture? As you can see in both pictures, the first one, there is a man in the post office. So how can you identify that man is inside the post office? As you can see a letter here, envelope here. By this you can identify that it is a scene of inside the post office. And the second one, where is the man standing? This one is standing inside the post office. And the second one is standing on a field. Now the third question, why is he so sad? So this question I am not going to reveal the truth this time because it is all about the story and the climax of the story. The fourth question, later we will find out the answer of it. The fourth one, what do you think has happened to his field? As he is looking very sad. So we will try to find out what happened to his field in this lesson. So we are going to start a short summary of this lesson. I have made some points after reading this chapter. So these are some important points. I hope it will cover your whole lesson, and after reading these points or after studying these points, you are not going to get any problem for your examination. So before reading these points, I want to tell you that please don't rely on these resources, only these points, because your book is your first resource. After reading these points, you have to read the text. After that, you will be able to understand the lesson very well. Now, we are going to start the short summary of this chapter. As you can see in the first line, Lancho was a farmer. He had the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers. So, as I have already told you, that this story, the writer of the story is from Spain. So the background of the story is from Spain, and this time we are talking about a farmer whose name is Lancho, who is very much hardworking. This time he had the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers. He has basically some croplands which are, this time they are ripe. They are ready now. Now in the second line, he hoped for a downpour or at least a shower. So in the second line, there are two words there, downpour and a shower. Means that these two words are basically used for a little bit rain, which is needed before the cutting of a crop. So this time, Lancho is hoping for a downpour or a little bit of rain. Now next one, he was happy to see huge clouds, but suddenly strong wind began to blow with the large hailstones. So this time he was happy to see huge mountains of clouds. So it was at the time of evening when Lancho saw towards the sky. He saw there were huge clouds. So he thought that he is going to get the final shower which is needed, the final downpour which is needed before cutting of the crops. So this time he was very much happy to see that clouds. So what happens after some time? But suddenly strong wind began. Now the story changes from there. His happiness suddenly changes into sadness. Now what happens? Suddenly strong wind began to blow and the large hailstones. And after that, after the strong winds, at first he saw huge clouds, so he was very happy that he will get the downpour which is helpful for his crops. Now what happens after some time? He saw that the wind is blowing and after some time, after the strong wind, hailstones also occurred. Now what happens after that? The hail rained for an hour and field was white as if covered with salt. So basically what happens generally, as you have seen, if there will be a rain for several hours, suppose that it is raining for 4 or 5 hours, definitely you can see a field which is totally covered with like a salt, means that will totally covered with white carpet. So that same thing happened with Lancho's field. The hail rained for an hour and the field was white as if covered with salt. So his field were totally covered with hailstones. Okay, now next one. The corn was totally destroyed. What happened after that? As we have already told, that for several hours it hailed there. That is why his field was totally destroyed. The hail has left nothing. He did not understand what to do. Now what happens when he saw towards his field? Nothing was left there. Now what happens? But he had a great faith on God. He decided seek help from God. But as I told you, one quality of Lancho earlier, that he was a very hard-working person, a very hard-working farmer. This time we will show that he is a very optimistic person also. He and his family did not sleep whole night and all of them were very sad. Their family members were looking at each other's faces, each other's sad faces. So they were also thinking, they were telling to each other that we could die with hunger whole year. But Lancho told them that no one dies of hunger. So what happened after that? He decided to take the help, to seek help from God. So what happens after that? When he decided to take help from God, he wrote a letter to God demanding 100 pesos. So he wrote a letter to God. Just try to understand this point. That is the title. A letter to God means that the letter which is written by Lancho to the God, that is the title undertaken by the writer. Now next one, he wrote a letter to God demanding 100 pesos. As in India you can see our currency is rupees, but in Spain that time it was pesos. He wrote a letter to God and he demanded 100 pesos. Now what happens next? That is going to be quite interesting. When the postman read the letter addressing to God, he could not stop himself by laughing. So when he posted that letter, and after some time, when the postman saw that letter, he was laughing for several minutes. If you were in the place of that postman, you would see a letter and it was to God, means that it was written to God. It is a kind of thing which can make laugh anyone. Now we were talking about a letter. His letter could be like this. This is not the actual one which Lancho has written, but his letter could be like that. If God, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes, because the hailstone ... means that because the hailstone destroyed my field. So after looking the letter, we are going to continue this summary, the important points of this chapter. But the postmaster, who was fat, amiable man, decided to help Lancho. And I would tell you one thing, that when the postman saw that letter, he was laughing for several minutes. When he took that letter to the postmaster also laughed for some time, but after some time he got serious, and he was a fat person. He was an amiable means a kind of friendly person. So he decided to help Lancho. So now the question arises, why that postman decided to help Lancho? That is the important question of this chapter. This question has already asked in various exams of CBSE board exams. So this time he decided to help Lancho because he did not want to diminish Lencho's faith on God. That is why he decided to help Lencho. The postman, the postmaster and other employees of that post office collected 70 pesos. Postmaster himself gave a part of his salary to contribute to give that money to Lencho. So what happens next? The following Sunday, Lencho came to collect the money, but he was disappointed to find only 70 pesos. What happens? The very next Sunday, Lencho came to the post office. When he saw that money order, means that the package in which the money was put. So when he saw that money, he was not very much surprised. Suppose if you have written a letter to God and God has given you some money, will you believe that? If I tell you, if I will saw that letter or that money, I will not believe on that. But he has a faith, he has a deep faith in God. That is why he was not surprised to see that money. Now what happens? When he opened that envelope, when he counted that money, he found that there were 70 pesos. So he got very much disappointed. So what happens after that? He was angry and he wrote again a letter to God demanding rest of the money. So he decided that he will write another letter to God and he will demand rest 30 pesos from God. Now he also wrote that the God should not send the money through the post office, because what he believed that the post office employees are bunch of crooks. Now what happens? This is an important point, that Lencho second time decided and he also demanded to the God that please don't send the money through the post office or through the mail, because he thought that the post office employees are the bunch of crooks. Means that he thought that the post office employees has taken his 30 pesos, because he has a firm belief in God that God can never do a mistake when sending the money. Means that he has demanded 100 pesos but he got only 70 pesos. So he thought that the remaining 30 pesos was taken by the post office employee. That is why he demanded from the God that please don't send the money, the remaining money next time through the post office or through the mail. Now there are some words in this chapter. We will pronounce this word and you can also pronounce this word like me at your home. The first one is super, second one pleasure, third one huge, fourth one entire, fifth one is hide. Okay, now let me tell you about the rhyming words, the words which sound same when we pronounce them. Like the first one, super, its rhyming word is upper duffer. Super, upper duffer. Now the second one, pleasure, leisure, measure, pressure. Means that their sound is same when we are pronouncing them. Next one, use, refuse. Next one, entire, satire, retire, empire. Now the last one, height, flight, slide, plight and light. These are called rhyming words which produce the same sound when we pronounce them. Now the next one, there are some word meanings. I tried to make you understand with the help of these pictures. Okay, now the first word, intimately, which is basically an adverb and its meaning is closely. As you can see in both the pictures, both the pictures are showing intimation, means closeness. Second one is predicted, as it is written here. It is the second form of predict. It means foretold. Foretold means to tell something about our future happenings which are going to happen or which can happen in the future. Now next one, approaching. It is used as a non-finite verb, means coming, as you can see there in the picture. Now the last one, word is crest, which is a noun. It means top part of a hill. As we have already talked about it, that Lencho's house was located at the top of a low hill, top part of a low hill. Now there are some important questions which has frequently asked. in board exams. The first question lies, why was Lancho angry when he received the letter? So as we know that, as we have studied that chapter, when Lancho received the letter, he opened the envelope. He at once became angry on counting the amount in it. There were only 70 pesos in the envelope, whereas he had asked for 100. That is the answer. The second one, how did the postmaster help Lancho? Or this question could also be asked in another way. What did the postmaster do to keep the faith of Lancho? Now this question can be answered like this. The postmaster collected money from the post office employees and sent the money order to Lancho in God's name to keep his faith. Now question number 3. Where was Lancho's house situated? Why did he sit seeing the sky? Now this question can be answered like this. Lancho's house was situated on the crest of a low hill in the valley. The whole day he sat seeing the sky because he knew that his fields needed downpour or at least a shower, and he was waiting to see the signs of rain. Now the question number 4. What were Lancho's feeling when the hailstorm stopped? Now the next one. Lancho was filled with utter sadness when the hailstorm stopped. He was troubled to see the corn which was totally destroyed. Nothing was left in the field. He and his family had to go hungry without corn. So we have summed up this lesson and we have already discussed the important points of this chapter. So at last I suggest you, please read the text. After that you will feel the lesson properly. Thank you and study well at your home.